Have you ever wondered, what if Hanuman, the monkey god of Hinduism, wasn't a monkey at all? What if he was the last surviving member of a human species that vanished tens of thousands of years ago? It sounds insane, doesn't it? Yet an Indian scholar, Dr. Rangan Ramakrishnan, has just published a book that's making waves in the scientific community. He argues that Hanuman, the eternal symbol of courage and devotion, might not have been a Homo sapiens like us, but rather a Homo erectus, or perhaps even one of the little people known as Homo floresiensis. In 2003, on the island of Flores, Indonesia, archaeologists unearthed a tiny skeleton barely over 1 meter tall, dating back around 60,000 years. They called it the Hobbit. The discovery completely rewrote what we thought we knew about human evolution. Since then, one question has haunted scientists. Could modern humans once have lived side by side with other human species? And if so, what happened to them? Now, let's turn back the pages of the Ramayana, the Sanskrit epic written more than 2,500 years ago. Hanuman and his Vanara tribe are described as beings with tails, intelligent, articulate, and living within a distinct culture. Too human to be beasts, yet not quite human either. Could Valmiki, the author of the Ramayana, have been recording a forgotten chapter of real history, a time when multiple human species coexisted? If that's true, then Hanuman isn't merely a religious symbol. He could be a living memory of our ancient ancestors, a myth that hides fragments of scientific truth we've yet to uncover. Could it be that mythology and evolution are telling the same story, just in different languages? Stay with me as we decode this mystery together. Before we begin this journey, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the most fascinating stories about the hidden origins of humankind. When most people read the Ramayana, they see it as a myth, a grand tale where gods and half-human creatures unite to conquer evil. But look closer, and something astonishing begins to emerge. The descriptions within the epic strangely align with features of a very real stage in human evolution. Hanuman and his tribe, the Vanaras, are not portrayed as mere talking monkeys. They organize armies, they build bridges, they communicate, show loyalty, and even possess a sense of honor. In an ancient world, depicting non-human beings with such advanced behavior was almost unheard of. And that is precisely what led Dr. Rangan Ramakrishnan to wonder. Was Valmiki not inventing fiction, but rather recording a memory of a species that once lived alongside us? Archaeology has long confirmed that around 100,000 years ago, at least 5 human species coexisted on Earth. Homo sapiens was just one of them. Others, Homo erectus, Homo floresiensis, the Denisovans, and the Neanderthals, all shared human-like traits. There's even evidence that some of them interbred with us. If we consider the Vanaras to be descendants of Homo erectus, suddenly, every detail in the Ramayana starts to make sense. Upright posture, speech, a sense of culture, yet still carrying the wildness of an earlier world. A few scholars have even suggested that the Ramayana might be a collective memory from a time when humans had not yet separated the divine from their own kind. If that's true, then Hanuman is not merely a religious symbol. He is the final witness to an age when multiple human species shared the earth. And perhaps that is why humanity still worships him to this day. As a way of remembering the most primal part of ourselves, the bridge between beast and man, between myth and memory. But that leaves us with a haunting question. If this was all real, what kind of evidence could ever prove it? More than 2 million years ago, across the red dust plains of Africa, a creature stood upright for the first time in the history of evolution. That was Homo erectus, the upright human, the first species of humankind to master fire and craft stone tools with remarkable precision. They no longer climbed trees like their ancestors. They hunted, migrated, and began to conquer the world. Scientists call them the pioneers of humanity. From Africa, Homo erectus spread across Asia and Europe. In Indonesia, archaeologists uncovered over 100 of their fossils on the island of Java dating back more than 1.5 million years. In China, they are known as Peking man. Their skulls were twice the size of a chimpanzee's, yet smaller than modern humans. They shaped hand axes, blades, and most importantly, learned to control fire for cooking, an innovation that completely transformed the course of evolution. Professor Russell Chochin, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Iowa, once said, "Homo erectus was the first human species capable of planning ahead and acting collectively." Because of this, many researchers believe they developed a primitive form of language, enough to coordinate hunts or teach their young. And if they could truly speak, the thought sends chills down our spine. Could Hanuman, the intelligent, emotional, and fiercely loyal monkey god, be a distant cultural echo of Homo erectus, a half-human, half-beast species our ancestors once encountered? It's a bold idea, but one detail makes it even more haunting. Fossil evidence suggests that Homo erectus survived until just 100,000 years ago, meaning they lived side by side with Homo sapiens. That opens a fascinating possibility. Modern humans may have actually seen them, even interacted with them. If so, perhaps Hanuman isn't just a product of religious imagination, but a mythic witness, a cultural memory of a real species, passed down through millennia of storytelling. Yet if Homo erectus truly walked the earth alongside us, what then caused them to vanish completely, leaving behind only whispers and legend? In 2003, inside Langbua Cave on the Indonesian island of Flores, archaeologists uncovered something that shook the entire scientific world: a nearly complete skeleton of an adult human, barely 1 meter tall, with a skull no larger than a grapefruit. They named the species Homo floresiensis, or as the media quickly dubbed them, the Hobbit. What stunned researchers was not just their size, but their intelligence. Despite their tiny frames, they made stone tools, controlled fire, and even hunted cooperatively. Carbon dating revealed they survived until around 60,000 years ago, long after modern humans, Homo sapiens, had already spread across Asia. Some scientists believe Homo floresiensis were actually dwarf descendants of Homo erectus, who gradually shrank over hundreds of thousands of years while living in isolation on the island, a process known as insular dwarfism. Now, imagine this. In the same Southeast Asian region where the earliest civilizations of India and Indonesia arose, ancient tribes told stories of small forest people, beings who lived in caves, who could speak, sing, and possessed incredible strength. Sound familiar? That's almost exactly how the Vanaras are described in the Ramayana: half-human, half-ape warriors, brave and loyal, dwelling deep within the jungle. Dr. Rangan Ramakrishnan believes Homo floresiensis might have inspired this ancient image. In an age when there was no divide between science and myth, every strange encounter became a sacred story. Just as the Greeks told of the Cyclops, the Indians might have remembered the Vanaras, the final descendants of the Little People. What makes this theory so compelling is the geographical and temporal overlap. Flores lies only a few thousand kilometers from India, well within ancient migration routes. And perhaps, buried deep in humanity's collective memory, Hanuman was not a divine monkey at all, but the last survivor of a vanished human species, immortalized through the poetry of legend. But if that's true, then maybe the Ramayana isn't just a mythic tale. Maybe it's a map, leading us backward through the winding path of evolution itself. Dr. Rangan Ramakrishnan, an Indian scholar who spent more than 5 years studying dozens of versions of the Ramayana, has proposed a bold and provocative theory. The Ramayana is not just a religious epic, it is a mirror of human evolution itself. According to him, the 3 main groups of characters symbolize 3 distinct human species that once coexisted. Rama represents Homo sapiens, modern humans. Hanuman and the Vanaras symbolize Homo erectus, an ancient species now extinct, while Ravana and his tribe of Rakshasas reflect traits of the Neanderthals, powerful, intelligent, yet ultimately doomed to extinction. From this perspective, The Ramayana is no longer just a moral tale of good versus evil. It becomes an allegorical chronicle of the encounters between human species, a struggle in which intelligence, faith, and culture determined who would survive. Rama, the embodiment of reason and virtue, marks the turning point when Homo sapiens rose to dominate the earth. Meanwhile, the Vanaras, loyal, courageous, yet simple-hearted forest people, represent Homo erectus, beings who could think, love, and sacrifice, but who were ultimately left behind in the evolutionary tide. What's even more striking are the descriptions of Ravenna, towering, immensely strong, with a thunderous voice and razor-sharp intellect. Features that closely align with modern reconstructions of Neanderthals, whose bodies were larger and skulls differently shaped. As Dr. Ramakrishnan puts it, Valmiki did not invent a myth, he recorded a memory of humanity. A time when different human species still looked at one another with curiosity, not hostility. The theory sent shockwaves through academic circles, for it reimagines the Ramayana as a kind of evolutionary literature, a crossroads where mythology, archaeology, and anthropology converge. But if this were true, it raises a haunting question. Could human history itself have been a long battle for survival among multiple human species? And we, Homo sapiens, are simply the last storytellers left to record it. Under the name Ramayana. If the Ramayana truly reflects a real chapter in human history, then the evidence must lie somewhere hidden within its ancient verses and buried deep beneath the earth. And indeed, when scholars began piecing together fragments of archaeology and literature, they found astonishing parallels. In the Ramayana, the Vanaras are described as builders, stoneworkers, and most famously, the creators of a mythic bridge connecting India to the island of Lanka, built to help Rama rescue his wife. For thousands of years, scholars dismissed this as pure legend. Until 2002, NASA released satellite images revealing a 30-kilometer-long chain of limestone shoals stretching between India and Sri Lanka, precisely where ancient texts described Adam's bridge, or Rama Setu. The formation appears to be made of oddly aligned limestone blocks, possibly natural, or perhaps shaped by human hands long ago. That uncanny coincidence raised an unsettling question. Could Valmiki have been recording something he had actually seen, rather than something he invented? At the time he lived, around 500 BCE, no scientific knowledge existed to imagine a geographic feature that precisely matches real satellite imagery discovered millennia later. Even the word Vanara in Sanskrit doesn't simply mean monkey. It can also be interpreted as forest people or human-like beings. They are described as emotional, organized, artistic, and articulate, traits far beyond the capacity of animals. One verse even portrays Hanuman as speaking with the clarity of a learned scholar and showing respect and humility toward his elders' behavior that perfectly fits a semi-civilized human species. Not mere beasts. Modern anthropologists have uncovered fossils of Homo erectus and Homo floresiensis across many sites in Southeast Asia, tracing an ancient corridor that links India to Indonesia, the very stage on which the Ramayana unfolds. Could all these parallels be coincidence? Or are they fragments of a lost body of human knowledge preserved in myth? And if the Ramayana is indeed a chronicle of evolution written in the language of divinity, then we are not merely reading a sacred epic. We are reading humanity's biological diary, inscribed in verse thousands of years before science was born. However, not everyone is convinced by Dr. Ramakrishnan's daring hypothesis. The modern scientific community, especially Western anthropologists, argues that linking Homo erectus or Homo floresiensis to Hanuman is little more than speculation, unsupported by physical evidence. Professor Russell Chochin, who led major excavations in Java, firmly stated, Homo erectus had no tail, no cheek pouches like primates, and if they had language at all, it was extremely primitive. They could not have spoken fluently or expressed complex emotions like Hanuman in the Ramayana. Archaeologists point out that the Ramayana was written several thousand years ago, far too recent to preserve any direct memory of ancient human species. They suggest that depictions of tailed men or monkey-faced beings were religious metaphors, symbolizing loyalty, humility, and primal strength. In this view, Hanuman represents the untamed energy within humanity itself, the half-beast nature that each of us carries and must learn to master. But Ramakrishnan disagrees. He counters. Human civilization has existed for tens of thousands of years. There's nothing stopping collective memory from being transmitted through myth. What Valmiki recorded might not be imagination, but the blurred memory of humanity, a time when multiple human species once coexisted. According to him, treating the Ramayana as a form of cultural genetics reveals that humanity's memory isn't stored only in DNA, but also in literature, art, and symbolism. That raises a profound question. Does science, with its microscopes and fossils, truly hold the whole truth? Or is mythology, in its own mysterious way, preserving fragments of reality that science has yet to uncover? If the Ramayana is indeed a bridge between faith and archaeology, then Hanuman is the enigma, standing in the middle, forcing both worlds to confront each other. Yet one mystery still lingers. If ancient humans and modern humans once shared the earth, why did only one species survive? One of the most fascinating discoveries in Dr. Ramakrishnan's research doesn't come from archaeology, but from the philosophy woven into the Ramayana itself. He noticed that among the epics, more than 20,000 verses, no species is ever portrayed as inferior to humans. In Valmiki's ancient world, humans, animals, and divine beings coexist, collaborate, even love one another. Such harmony between species is something our modern world rarely achieves. Hanuman, half man, half mape, is never treated as a lesser being. He is a general, a loyal companion, and a symbol of courage and devotion. In the Ramayana, the boundaries between human and animal blur. It reflects a time when humanity had not yet placed itself above nature. Ramakrishnan suggests this may represent a social memory of a pre-hierarchical era, an age when multiple human-like species coexisted as equals in evolution's chain. Before dominance and separation took hold. Seen through a modern lens, this becomes a timeless reminder that humans are not the center of the universe, but one strand in the vast web of life. Valmiki's compassionate portrayal of the Vanaras reveals profound respect for all forms of existence, as if he somehow grasped the essence of evolutionary philosophy thousands of years before Darwin. Ramakrishnan writes, when a civilization can depict another species without diminishing it, that is the pinnacle of human consciousness. Perhaps that is why the Ramayana endures. Not merely for its epic battles, but because it preserves a humanist truth the modern world has largely forgotten, that true evolution lies not in power, but in our capacity for understanding and empathy toward every living being around us. And yet, if such a society once existed, what caused it to disappear? So, in the end, who is Hanuman? A divine god worshipped in millions of temples, or the lingering shadow of a human species long vanished from the earth? This question leaves both science and religion at a standstill, each with its own truth, yet neither able to prove it completely. To the Hindu faithful, Hanuman embodies loyalty, devotion, and spiritual strength. He can soar across oceans, lift mountains, and transcend the limits of man. But seen through the archaeological lens, those miracles take on another meaning. Perhaps they were humanity's way of preserving memories of a being stronger, more resilient, yet humble. Without arrogance, Dr. Ramakrishnan doesn't claim Hanuman existed in the religious sense. Instead, he believes Hanuman represents the intersection of mythology and genetics, the ancient human that still lives within us, instinctive, brave, and uncorrupted by modern ego. Other scholars interpret him as a fusion symbol, half science, half faith, a figure through whom myth remembers events that archaeology has not yet confirmed. Maybe Hanuman never walked this earth in flesh and bone, but he lives on in civilization's memory as a mirror reflecting the evolutionary journey of humankind. And perhaps, when we gaze into the mirror and see that spark of curiosity, instinct, and compassion staring back. It isn't just ourselves we're seeing. It's Hanuman looking right back at us. But if mythology is memory encrypted in story, what secret still waits to be decoded in his final tale? Perhaps the question, was Hanuman real? It's never meant to have just one answer. Because sometimes truth doesn't live in fossils or sacred texts. It lives in how we choose to see ourselves. Hanuman may be a god of devotion, a symbol of an ancient species, or simply a mirror reflecting the fearless instinct that still beats within every human heart. Throughout evolution, humanity learned to tame nature, to build civilizations, and in doing so, slowly forgot the wild, primal connection that once defined us. Maybe Hanuman exists to remind us that true evolution isn't about domination or intellect. It's about reconnecting with compassion, with the earth, and with the original spark of humanity that made us who we are. So what do you think? Is Hanuman a deity, an ancient human, or a genetic memory echoing within the human mind? Share your thoughts in the comments, because every perspective might be another piece of the truth. And if you'd like to keep exploring the mysteries of history and human origins, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Our next journey will take you even deeper into the wonders that still lie hidden within our past.